Zion National Park is located in Utah, United States, near the town of Springdale. The park itself is roughly 229 square miles and has a total of 4.5 million visitors a year. The park is home to iconic monuments such as Angel's Landing and Observation Point. However, tourists are disconnected of the historic past Mukuntuweap, the original name of Zion National Park, once had. Here's a brief history of the park. Like most land in the United States, Zion National Park was once inhabited by an indigenous tribe. These people were referred to as the Paiute Native Americans. The Paiute Native Americans were made up of 5 tribes and were scattered across Utah. The Paiute people thrived in Utah for many years. They were once a sovereign group of people until European and Mormon pioneers went south and discovered the area in the late 1800s. Settlers called the land Zion, which meant sanctuary or refuge in Hebrew. Mukuntuweap was now in the hands of Mormon settlers and began to exclude and kick out native inhabitants for the sake of a sanctuary environment for the Mormons. Later, a man named John Wesley Powell explored Zion Canyon in 1869 and 1872. Powell named the canyon Mukuntuweap because he believed this was the rightful name and the land belonged to the Paiutes. On July 31, 1909, President William Howard Taft announced Mukuntuweap National Monument as the official name of the discovered land. However, local Mormons were infuriated of the decision. The residents believed using Mukuntuweap as the national name was insulting to Mormon heritage of Zion Canyon. As uproar continued for years, in 1918, the acting director of the National Park Services announced the name change to Zion National Monument. Finally, on November 19, 1919, Congress declared the monument as a national park. A quick question to be answered is, why were the Mormons even upset when Mukuntuweap was given the official name? The answer to that is the idea of white fragility. Robin DiAngelo, the author of White Fragility, discusses how whiteness is a discrete entity that is present at all time and holds the standard that all people of color must abide to the white code set in place. This applies to the upset Mormons because now that Mukuntuweap is a predominantly white space, the environment itself must transition to a space more accommodating for the Mormons. Mormon pioneers were filled with the idea of expanding land and preserving Mormon heritage. George Lipschitz, The Racialization of Space and the Spatialization of Race, clearly answers why Mormon settlers felt they must erase native land. As the name Zion, meaning sanctuary, speaks for itself, Mormons believe that only white bodies are tolerated in a utopia-like environment. Not only was Zion National Park inhabited by natives, but most of the national parks across America were. Isaac Cantor reflects on the ethnic cleansing done by white men to create these national parks, often disregarding native cultivation. For example, Canton states in the quote above how white men took Native Americans out of the picture because a display of white dominance and purity was important to maintaining power and status. The Wilderness Act of 1964 was a key legislative act to further erase Native history. This act not only disregarded natives but limited natives from living in the land they once owned many years ago. This act intensified the goal to eliminate natives in a newly dominant white area to promote white racial space. Canton states how the legal action further diminishes native presence by inferring land once owned by natives never existed, in an attempt to create the pure space of the Americas Lipschitz once mentioned. In 1954, the erasure and suppression of the Paiute people intensified. The termination law, promoted by Utah Senator Arthur V. Watkins, no longer recognized Paiute as a native tribe and stripped all their land and government support. As a result, the Paiute people lost their heritage and many died due to neglected medical needs. As previously seen, erasure and elimination came in other forms. According to Patrick Wolf, the author of Settler Colonialism and Elimination of the Native, white men continued to use previous tactics settlers used to eradicate native history and presence. The Termination Law and the Wilderness Act were both modeled after the structural genocide Wolf mentions. Assimilation of the younger generation of natives played a key role in structural genocide. Brenda J. Child, the author of Indian Boarding Schools, states how people of power believed placing children into boarding schools effectively took the primal instinct out of natives to be modeled into civilized individuals, all without mass genocide. President Carter restored federal recognition of the Paiutes in April 3, 1980. They regained 4,800 acres from the 15,000 acres lost. The Paiute people eventually gained healthcare, funding, education, and preservation. Native Americans did not see monetary reparation as a way to ease suffering they had to endure for hundreds of years. To Native, land is irreplaceable and money has no means to compensating the land that is no longer theirs. Ta-Nehisi Coates, the author of Case of No Reparation, believes no amount of money is able to pay for reparations from injustice.